the living where hope is sown, their courage and faith like a beacon stone. Guided by love, the spirits abound, the boots on the ground team, forever proud.
Hello and welcome back to Paranormal NL Podcast, located in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. I'm your host and founder, Jen Noseworthy. Thank you for tuning in to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM New Orleans and 105.3 FM on that Gulf. Watch and listen to PNL Podcast every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on uprntalkradio.com. For tonight's Quantum Health Ascension special on UPRN segment number 72, I've got a special guest waiting backstage from Alberta, Canada, who I'll bring on shortly. Now it's time to grab your favorite trans-dimensional drink, a few spiritual and chakra munchies, and get ready for that show tonight. Paranormal NL Podcast is sponsored by the BOG Team. It's a boots-on-the-ground BOG team doing historical paranormal investigations in Newfoundland, Canada. Smash those subscribe buttons and grab your PNL Podcast and BOG Team merch at TeePublic on their Linktree Paranormal NL Podcast. All BOG Team music heard in the intro and the exit is available for download and use on all social media and streaming music platforms. Now let's get on with the show. I'm going to actually give a shout out before I bring tonight's guest on to who introduced me to tonight's guest, and his name was Mark Eddy, and he's from Third Eye Live podcast from Bryan Bowden. And Mark Eddy was on PNL season 4 episode, actually season 3, episode 53, which was his first debut on UPRN Seg 60. And he was also on season 4, episode 10, UPRN Seg 70. So check out Mark Eddy's work. So now let's get on with the show. Tonight, I have on with me all the way from Alberta, Canada, Miss Karen Holton. Welcome.
Sorry, I've done myself. Hi,
welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. It really, it's lovely to meet you and to see what you do. And man, you sure do a great job of podcasting. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. We were saying off air, it's great to have another fellow Canadian on the podcast. I've been doing so many podcasts with folks all over the world. It's great to have somebody on from Canada with me. So Karen, tell the people listening all over the world on UPRN a little bit about yourself.
Well, the truth is I'm a very ordinary person. I just happen to have had some extraordinary experiences. And I believe that what I've experienced, that all humans can actually experience it. I believe that we have what I'm going to call God-given gifts so that we can communicate telepathically, that we can do like astral projection. We can do astral projection. We can do being able to see other places, worlds, whatever.
Remote viewing, yes.
Thank you. Remote viewing. And I think that out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences and all these things are part of one phenomena. We're just sort of classifying it a little bit different, but it all involves the gift of sight. And for some reason, I have been given the gift of sight. And so it's led to a very intense angelic experience that happened to me just once. I also had extensive ET contact. Now, the time is different because in our world, it was for 3 months only, but my experiences, because of a time dilation, were more like 3.5 years. Wow. So I had very extensive ET contact. And again, it doesn't follow any of the other narratives about contact. It's my own experience is very transdimensional. And again, like I said before, I think that everybody can actually do this. I think it starts with meditation. It starts with self-love and, a sincere desire to basically spread love throughout
I think that's some of the key aspects that I hear from a lot of people who talk about, ascension and things like that. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the light, shall we say, and how you can actually meditate to get to that point?
Well, I don't really know exactly how. For instance, when I had angelic contact, it came from me being in such a severe state of grieving and emotional pain that I'm guessing I was projecting some kind of an energy pattern that made, the angelic forces come into my reality. Chris Bledsoe is another person where his ET contact came out of severe suffering. It's interesting how in our society we want to shut suffering down, but sometimes suffering actually opens the gate and opens the possibilities that we have for angelic contact, ET contact. And in my experience, these other realms are very friendly. I did not have any negative or bad or horrible experiences at all. I had nothing but help. And it's really helped me in my journey. I wanted to say, what my definition of awakening and ascension is, because it means different things to different people. For me, I believe that awakening is when we realize that the world is not what we thought, when we see outside of the mainstream narrative and we start seeing other possibilities and other things that are more real to us than what the mainstream tells us is real. But then, we have to get over the shock and awe of that. And it's big, for me, it was huge, and it unfolds even more in layers over time. And so once I get myself grounded again, then I start to realize I could tell that I needed to change what I ate. I could tell that I needed to change who I associated with. I had to change so many things. And then my frequency was much higher, because I think our bodies are technologies. And when we take good care of our bodies, we could then raise our frequency. And then I think we're more in alignment with these other types of beings and realities. And we can have, more of those spiritual experiences.
I like the fact that you talked about frequencies. Now, I have one of your logos here pulled up, and it's interesting, when you talk about frequencies, let's say you throw some sand on a table and hit different tuning forks, you get different frequencies. So with your logo, does this happen to be any kind of frequency, or does this mean anything special to you?
Well, it's first of all, it's a spiral. And I have found, whether I'm trying to improve my health or my social contacts, my social relationships, family, outside of family, whether it's about building success in my life, how I might see that to be, whatever, it starts at a point where we see no progress at all. And that's when a lot of people give up. But if we stick with it, we slowly start to build that energy and build that energy and build that energy. And one thing builds on something else. And the next thing we know, we look back, we go, oh my God, my dreams are going to come true. I got to tell you one thing that I think is really funny that I just realized recently. Way back, like 10 years ago, I wanted a career, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my guides, who are invisible, said to me, what would you like to do? What would you like to do for a job? And I said, well, I think the most perfect job would be to get paid to talk about the stuff I'm interested in. That would be so cool. Well, here I am like 10 years later, well, maybe not quite 10 years later, and I'm getting paid to talk about the things that I want to talk about.
I
So
love
it's
that.
really, really cool. But the thing is, people got to realize, please don't quit 15 minutes before the miracle. You got to keep at it.
That's right. You got to really work towards it. You talked a lot about several different ways to do that, like alternative wellness solutions that you mentioned earlier, whether it be being with certain kind of people, letting certain kind of vibes in your life. Did you want to talk any more about your new book?
Yes, I'd love to. Okay, so this could be like 6 podcasts in a row. There's so much information. So I'll try to just highlight. The book, I didn't know I was going to write a book. I had this experience, like I said, it happened differently than most ET contact experiences. I did not have a spaceship show up and beam me up or have little grays running around. It didn't happen for me like that. It happened where I went to sleep one night and boom, I was having these transdimensional experiences. I was aboard what I call the big ship. Other people might consider it a mothership holding millions and millions of souls, except this is not in any three-dimensional space. So if you can imagine a Venn diagram that loosely looks like a daisy, and if you imagine that there's 100 petals on this daisy, and each petal represents a different realm, a different dimensional frequency, perhaps a different position in the multiverse, a different world, but very similar. It could be the angelic realms, the spiritual realms. Well, they all intersect at the center, and that's interdimensional space. And those of us who can travel into and come back out of interdimensional space, we are transdimensional.
It's
So I
almost
started,
like a black hole, and you can go to different alternate forms of the
yeah.
parallel different universe, shall we say. It's kind of all about gravity and different dimensions, really.
Yeah, and it makes it possible for beings from all different realities to come and join each other and create purpose. Now, this big ship is actually almost a hospitality place where beings come, and the first thing we do is we learn telepathy. A lot of people think that telepathy is you just think and the other person picks it up. I found out it was quite more than that. I go into the lessons that I did in my book on how I learned telepathy. And it's got 4 different levels. You start off at the basic level. And the hardest part about learning telepathy was not to broadcast, it was to not broadcast. Because there are protocols in place.
That's how other ones find you, right?
Yeah, but it makes it so that there is a nice, peaceful atmosphere. You don't want to be sharing your dirty laundry and random thoughts and all of that with everybody. So I had to learn to keep that contained, but also to be able to broadcast to maybe just 1 or 2 people within a group, or perhaps to a whole audience. So it was learning how to rein it in and let it out. That was the most difficult part for me. I caught on to the actual thought projections quite easily. That was the
Karen,
easier part.
you mentioned something that I found kind of intriguing. Some people, you'd mentioned that all of your experiences were positive. You talk to so many different people. Some people have negative experiences. Some people have positive. And I find a lot more lately are having more of the positive experiences. And I do have another question about, there's a gentleman up there on the upper right, kind of looks like Hetman. Did you want to talk about that, or these different images you have here?
Sure. So actually, that's Bob the Gray. That's what I call him. That's not really his name because I don't know. I don't have a name. I just call him Bob the Gray, and he's cool with it. And he's not one of my spiritual guides. And he's so adorable and so different than, what we're taught about the Grays. First of all, he has emotions. He has a very high station, similar to the angels. And he helps me facilitate my ability to do astral projection or remote viewing, or he helped me to release my memories, because a lot of what happened aboard the big ship I don't really have memories for, but I do have specific certain memories that were meant to go in the book because it's meant to encourage humankind. Anyway, Bob the Gray has a sense of humor. So although he looks like what we would consider a stereotypical gray, he's kind of a snappy dresser. He wears black slacks, he wears a black turtleneck sweater, and he wears this fedora. And I think partly why he appears that way to me is to make me laugh and to make me lighten up, because often the knee-jerk reaction to these beings that appear to be what we would consider grays, is scary because it's different than what humans look like.
Right. Yeah. Some people experience fear when they see them. And I find it interesting, all the people who had positive experiences all talk about love, light, and laughter. And laughter, they talk about often, that it's very important for a higher frequency, shall we say, in your energy.
I think that's true.
More positive energy.
Well, what I found aboard the big ship is they all vibe on the love harmonic. So they are not millions of years ahead of us. They are at our next stage of development. So what I saw and experienced aboard the big ship, I know we can create that for ourselves right here, right now on planet Earth. Sure would solve a lot of problems. But most people on Earth don't even know what love means. They think it's some kind of warm, fuzzy affection or attraction towards another person. And it's not. Love is like a basket that holds different attributes like patience, self-control, mildness, goodness, kindness, mercy. You know what I mean? It's a whole bunch of things. I get into that quite a lot in my book because it's so, so important. Once people realize what love means, it's a chore to actually exercise love. It doesn't just mean being patient for an hour or having self-control one time. It's like juggling these different attributes that we need to get good at and have all at the same time. So it's very not complicated, but it does take an effort, and we need to do that towards ourselves before we can aim our love outwards towards other people. So it starts with self-love, and then it goes to maybe our immediate family, like maybe our children, our spouse, our parents. And then from there, it goes out to our more intimate community. From there, it goes out. And that's how we change the world. We become the change we want to see in the world. And it's so, so important. And I got to tell you, it's a wonderful clarifying tool too, because you can just see through all the nonsense that we're seeing on mainstream and alternative media. Really helps us to see what's important, what's not. When we're focused on these more important things, we're raising our frequency. As you mentioned earlier, it has a cymatic effect on our bodies, on our whole reality. It's very exciting to understand all this. And
the power of positivity. I mean, that's a common thing that shamans use for centuries with health.
Absolutely.
I pulled up a little bit of your link tree there, but we'll get into that more later, because you're a jack of all trades. I mean, you haven't really talked about everything that you do yet.
No. I wondered if you want to know who some of the other beings are that are on the cover of my book.
Yes.
Because two of them, the one with the red hair, she is one of my very closest friends. She was my buddy. So when we find ourselves aboard a big ship or a mothership or something like that, I found that I was assigned a buddy and that we all were. And that buddy stays with us, comforts us, helps us to understand how to do things, how to find food, where we will sleep, anything we want to know. And she's awesome. So she became a very, very close friend of mine. I have quite a few adventures with her in my first book. The redheaded couple, I call them the twins, but they're not twins. They're actually a joined couple. And they became very, very close friends of mine as well. As you can see, they don't look like stereotypical grays. They come in all shapes and sizes and heights, but one thing they all have in common, they all vibe on what I call the love harmonic. They all use telepathy. Nobody uses words or language, just doesn't happen. So it's a very peaceful, calm atmosphere as well. The twins, they are a little different because they are a bonded pair. So when their race of humanoids find a mate, they actually are introduced to their future mate in childhood. They grow up together. They form a very strong bond. If one of them were to die, they both would die. But that's not the usual, but that's the way they are. And what's really cool about them is the females have more facial hair than the males. So at first you think that the females are the males. So there's no rules. It's really very, very interesting. The other sort of bald character that's also on the cover, I had a shamanic experience with him. And you got to read the book, though, to find out. I don't talk about the mating practices or anything sexual or any shamanic while I'm on podcast. People got to buy and read the book to hear more about that. But I go into great detail. There's nothing forbidden there, and it's more rational and reasonable than what you might think.
Yeah, it sounds like very interesting. We talked a lot about the different frequencies and stuff in love. Is there a specific love frequency that you can describe?
Well, as I mentioned,
happy, colorful colors too.
That was my logo actually from last year, but I've just done new ones for 2026. No, I would say that love is a vibrational frequency. It absolutely is. And it can involve sex, but it certainly doesn't have to. Mostly it does not. Mostly it's about being kind within and having the self-control to make the changes that we need to make to hold the higher frequencies. So as I mentioned, slowly over time, I became aware that the certain foods I was eating did not agree with me, probably don't agree with anybody. I started to find out the difference between real food and food-like substances and how they affect our mental health, our spiritual health, everything, how important sleep is, how important sunshine and fresh air is, how important it is to exercise, but that doesn't mean you have to go to the gym and have these heavy-duty workouts. Just a walk, in the woods or a walk around your neighborhood is amazingly beneficial. Every little tiny thing we do. Remember, we talked about the spiral in the beginning. We don't see much of a difference. Go, well, why am I giving up this, that, and the other when I'm not really seeing any difference? But you hang on and you really start to see a difference. So, in some ways, I'm more functional. I'll be 70 in a couple of weeks, and wow. I'm more functional than I was when I was 35. And I think it's the frequency, the cymatics of it all, and also the contact, which keeps me buoyed up emotionally, makes me very happy.
I think a lot of people are realizing that now more than ever. It seems like the whole world is kind of holding their breath. They kind of sense like something's going to happen, but they don't know what. And everybody's trying to do better. But on the flip side, then there's all these other angry people. So it's kind of a mix, isn't it? What's your take on that?
I think there's a splitting going on between high and low frequency. I don't think people are good or bad. We all hold, what we would consider good or bad. We all could do better one way or another. And other ways we're really should be really proud of ourselves for how good we actually are. But those that are peaceful and loving and kind and calm, they're such a joy to be around. Thank God for an online community where I've been able to make many friends, and it really, really sustains me. And I do a live chat, which builds community. And I've got a moderator and other people in my live chat that are regulars. Oh my God, they're so kind to everyone who comes into our chat. So I know there's a lot of us out there, but I cannot be around people who are angry and judgmental and racist and nasty. That's the other thing. Aboard the big ship, they have no concept for racism, none.
Yeah,
and so
I had to put on our group that we're actually a safe space by Safe Space Alliance in our Facebook group, because having a safe space, I think, is really important for a lot of people nowadays, because you talked about the low frequency and the high frequency. Sometimes it's hard to find the right frequency.
Yeah, it is. But when we become, like I said, the change that we want to see in the world, what happens is we attract other people that are of similar frequency. So that's not just humans, that's also angelics. A lot of people don't know you can call on your higher guides, your higher self. There's a one of me that's on a higher dimensional reality who can help me, knows me better than anybody or anything. We can have positive ET contact. I'm telling you, it's a completely different reality, and I would never trade it for anything.
And it's great that you talked about earlier having your community that you mentioned with your live chat. Now, this is a pre-recorded, but we do have a live chat watch party. So I'm thinking maybe sometime in 2026, I'll do some more or some live shows on UPRN, but that does create a big community. And you want to talk a little bit more about your podcast?
Sure. So I actually have 3 podcasts. I have the Aliens and Angels podcast, and that's all things to do with ET, aliens, angels, or anything within that realm of reality. And so those are kind of for people who are not shy about, their experiences, people who really want to come together and share their experiences. I often have them as guests on my show. Sometimes I will have the regulars from the live chat actually come on. We'll do panels and things like that. And that's for the really out there stuff. I have another podcast that's on Sundays at noon Mountain Time. On Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, I have the Quantum Guide Show. And then I get to interview all the people who I find are very interesting. So I've seen other podcasts on YouTube, or just different people I've heard about. Some of them are developing new ways of healing, new ways of doing energy and energy work, everything from astrologers to just the most cutting edge, where I would say technology meets psychology in a way. And I have all these really, really interesting people. So I get to meet them. I get to develop a relationship with them. I get to keep them as my friends, and I have them back often on my show. It's so wonderful. I will often, another thing I want to mention is I will also often help brand new podcast people get started, because if people hadn't allowed me to be on their shows when I had 50 subscribers to my channel, I never would have gotten where I am today. So I always have people who are just getting started, or they're just getting their toes wet and want to start talking about, some of the orbs they've seen, or who knows what. I have them on my shows. Now, my third show, the reason I started it is with a friend of mine named Joan Wyden. Joan's from Calgary, Alberta. And that's so that her and I can just chat, just visit and chat about whatever. So, because the other two podcasts, I'm usually presenting information and the guest has the floor. And this way I get to talk about whatever I'm interested in and that Joan's interested in. And it was really interesting. We did a podcast very beginning of January, and we both have the ability to be precognitive. We see things that are coming. But her and I, we never consulted when we did the show together, and it was really interesting. Our predictions for 2026 were very closely aligned.
Oh, tell me some.
Yeah. So, well, basically 2026, there is going to be a real, like the teeth of a saw. It's going to be up and down, up and down, up and down. It's going to be like being slapped on one side of the face and slapped on the other with the kind of stuff that's coming out in 2026. But the main thing that Joan and I both saw was that if we take really good care of ourselves and the beings we love, that for me includes my cats,
Yes.
We'll weather the storm. And on the other side, there's going to be a whole new awakening. And we're very excited about that. We don't know exactly what that looks like. I see different timelines, but just because I see a timeline doesn't mean that it's going to come true. And you know what I mean? There's so many variables, but it's all very, very exciting as well.
Yes, there's so many different predictions that people have had for 2026. It'll be interesting to see what pans out.
Mm-hmm. Totally will.
Now, I think you have some prisms and things like that. Did you want to talk about those?
Oh, yeah. So I'm not a rich woman, and not necessarily don't think I really want to be, because your world changes so much. But I got to the point where I was doing a fair amount of screen time, and I found that the energy from my computer was making me really tired. And my guides told me about orgone generators. It's called orgonite. I didn't even know what it was. I had to look it up online. There was very little information about it. So I started creating my own line of orgone generators, experimenting with them. I definitely found a difference. People who buy them from me also notice a difference. And what I do is I just encourage people to try them. They don't have to buy my orgone generators. You can even make them yourself. But the ones that I have, I think, are pretty special. So they don't just help purify the ambient energy around us. It also helps purify the atmosphere in other energetic ways. For instance, your plants become healthier, your pets become healthier, and also it clears the negative energy. If we've been in contact with people that are really negative, you want to clear that out as much as possible. So I've got pyramids and I've got discs, I've got all different shapes, and I started selling them from my website to try to generate enough funding to help me pay for my StreamYard, my YouTube premium, equipment, cameras, whatever. You know how it is. It's like it seems to never end with the expenses, right?
Right.
And so that's why I started selling them online. And then, of course, since then, I produced my book, which is available on Amazon. Actually, I have two books. The first one is all about my transdimensional experiences with ETs. And the second book, there's some of my orgone generators. See, I have a line even for pets. Pets love amethyst. Amethyst is very soothing to people with pets. And I've got all different shapes, and I've made so many YouTubes. I've got a playlist on my YouTube channel.
Did you want me to play this, or?
Probably, I don't know. I don't even, I don't,
You don't
know,
remember?
probably not, because we want to talk about other things too. But people, I encourage them to go to my website and check them out and see if they get a feel that they want to try them or not. Is up to everybody.
No,
But
you were talking about your books.
yeah, we're talking about my book. So my second book is a little bit different. And, actually, I published my first book in December of 2024, and it was so much work. Oh my God, I couldn't believe how much work it is to all the editing and everything. I do everything myself. Like I said, I'm not a rich woman, right? So then over Christmas 2024 to 2025, I started getting this overwhelming urge to produce images of what we would consider the grays. And I was surprised because I used an old model, that was basically a free version of it. And I was shocked at how in sync it became with me. So it's AI, they are AI generated, but I was surprised how in sync with what I had in my mind that it was able to produce. So I produced hundreds of these images. And then in January, I got the call from my guides that I needed to produce a book. And I went, well, I don't really know that much about the grays. I haven't had, except for Bob, I haven't really had experiences with them. So I decided to invite my friends to each, write a couple paragraphs and submit an image. So here I have Dolly's, I don't know if you can see that, Dolly Saffron. She wrote a section, and she submitted a picture of Mama. And I took, so anyway, 7 different people who have had extensive contact, more than me, with the grays, and I included that in the first 2 chapters.
Okay.
Plus, I included all the details about me and Bob the Gray, and also about being on the big ship and the diversity of the beings there. Then all the chapters after that, there's over 250 images, and they're all of beings who we would consider to be the stereotypical grays. And grays aren't actually even gray. What it is there are many different family races, places, different planets of origin, different dimensional places of origin. They may not even have anything to do with each other, but what they all have in common is their skin doesn't reflect, it doesn't have the pigment to reflect the colors that we see on this very limited spectrum with our eyes, what our rods and cones or whatever can pick up. And so to us, they all appear to be gray, and we just group them all in together. Some of them are biological, what we would consider kind of like robots. Some are very human-like. And so I divided it up into chapters with hybrid children, females, males, human-looking grays, stereotypical grays. And then I even have a section I affectionately call the Grays family photos, where it has little families, and they're really cute. And the purpose of this book was to reduce the fear, because it's only a matter of time, very short time, probably 2026, 2027, where these beings are going to make their presence known. And when you see them on the news and stuff, if you've already flipped through this book, shared the images, maybe with your friends or your children or whatever, and you see on the news, 6 o'clock news, oh, these are the whatevers, and they're here, and you're not going to be freaked out. You're going to go, yeah, I know that. I saw those, in Karen's book. And it's to reduce the fear, because as soon as we reduce our fear, what happens is we still have our critical thinking skills. We stay grounded, and then we can't be messed with the powers that be, who want to trick us or fool us or get us involved.
Project Bluebeam.
Exactly. So the more you know, the less triggered you will become. And so that was why the second book came out. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are expecting something, whether it be 26 or 27, but some kind of alien contact. And I wonder, is it related to so many different countries going into space?
Yeah, it could be because China and India are real gung ho, especially the dark side of the moon.
Mhm.
And I don't know about you, but I want to see the pictures. I want to see what's going on up there, because I don't think the moon is a natural occurrence. I think that it was constructed, put there for a purpose. And oh, there's so many people who have gone out with their telescopes or even their phones and
Have you
shown
tried
all kinds of,
to remote view the dark side?
well, there's that too. I haven't done that, but you could, yeah.
Do you know anybody who's remote viewed other areas that you're interested in?
Well, I don't know, not specifically. I got to tell you, I'm keenly interested in a lot of podcasts. I learn so much from watching podcasts, and I try to watch stuff on Netflix or Prime, and it's like stupid. I'm sorry, it's except for maybe Fallout. Fallout is interesting because to me it says if the Agenda 2030 comes to pass, the so-called elites that are going to go underground, I can see, I don't know why, I just feel there's a strong parallel between the Fallout series and what they might expect to find out in not the utopia that they're all looking for. So I thought that was kind of cool. But no, there's not a lot that interests me. So I stick to, the paranormal and all the stuff I'm really interested too in how the megalithic sites were created, from the pyramids to the megalithic sites in South America, even those old cathedrals. I don't know if you've watched a podcast called My Lunch Break. The guy's brilliant at doing research, and he found out those Romanesque type cathedrals are all over the world. They all look very similar. Well, they're much older than what we've been taught. And
yeah,
so
it makes you wonder about this carbon dating that we have. Like, how accurate is it really? Yeah, how far do we know the world actually goes back to? Is that accurate? I mean, look at Göbekli Tepe. Like, how old
exactly.
Is it, you know?
Exactly. And so now we're finding out that, we weren't running around living in caves wearing furs.
That's right.
And it's very subhuman.
I think that we had Atlantis and it looked like what's behind you.
Exactly.
And we all forgot about it all and how to use it and everything else.
I go into that in my book too quite a bit about the origins of humankind here on Earth. Apparently there's been 5 different reseedings of Earth. See, a lot of beings don't even live on planets because they're fairly unstable, depending on what the sun's doing. And I get into that.
I think our inner Earth is starting to shift. Well, we already know the magnetic north is already shifting from Canada to Siberia, which is, we look at all the weird weather we had talked about before we even got on the podcast off air. Our weather set patterns have just completely changed. Our waters over here are very warm around Newfoundland now, and we're getting more hurricane strength winds. We're getting all these creatures like great white sharks that we never had in our water system before.
Yeah.
Has there been many changes out in Alberta that you've noticed when it comes to like a wildlife standpoint or atmospheric conditions that's changing things?
I can comment on the weather, but to be honest with you, I don't get out much because we have about 6 months worth of snow here and cold, and I don't drive. And if it's icy out there, which it often is, I stay home quite a bit unless I have a ride somewhere. But I noticed when I first moved here 9 years ago, I'm from the BC coast. When I moved here 9 years ago, winters were bitterly cold, like month after month, like below 30 degrees below zero, like so
you'd
cold.
have to plug in your car or your engine block would freeze.
Yeah.
Well, you still have to do that?
No, that changed about 3 years ago. So now what happens is we have about 2 weeks of bitter cold, and then it warms right up. It could be 10 or 15 degrees above 0 Celsius.
That's why it's warm here in Newfoundland.
Unbelievably
it was warmer here in Newfoundland than it was down in Florida. Sure.
Yeah.
This is again pre-recorded. yesterday Florida got snow, and then we were upside down. We were in the plus 10, 12, or
Exactly. Same here. And then we get a couple of weeks of that and everything starts to melt and then the deep freeze again. So it's really
yes,
treacherous to go out, because it's so slippery. It'll get really cold and then it warms up again. And I like it because, just a month after month of bitter cold, that kind of used to get me down.
Yeah.
Not to mention that it was so dry.
Yes, we can get all 4 seasons in one day in Canada, can't we?
Yeah. So I'm definitely seeing a difference just in the last 3 years.
And
then the chemtrails. There's way more chemtrails than I've ever seen before. And so it's rare that we have a beautiful blue sky anymore.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What about your water system? Do you find a lot more drought? We've had a lot of drought here in Newfoundland with a lot of the drinking water drying up. A lot of the people's wells are drying up. Have you had many changes in regards to water?
I don't know, but I do know that I don't drink tap water. I buy bottled spring water.
Okay,
it's full of delicious minerals. It's really quite lovely to drink because when you think about it, Alberta is mostly farmland or oil wells and oil rigs and tar sands, and all of that is very toxic. Farming is not what it used to be. It's mass factory farming with chemicals. All of that runs off into the rivers, and it's the rivers that supply our water. The other thing too is then we drink the water and then we go pee or whatever, and then it gets recycled and back out into the river again. But guess what? There's nothing testing our water for pharmaceuticals. So the water's full of pharmaceuticals. Every time
as a nurse, I can tell you that the pharmaceuticals, they do not get processed through your water treatment plant. Your medications are left in the water. So do not dump your medications in the water. Dispose of them at your local pharmacy. When we're talking about quantum health, water is really important to the body because it's 75% water. So yes, I agree with you about the quality of the water that you're drinking. And I think it's really important to actually get a water test. We have a community here close by where I'm at, and there's actually a class action, I think, a lawsuit or something going on with the water system because it's so bad. You just don't know what's in it. Get it tested. Check it out and see what's in it. I drink the Evian water. That one's pretty good too.
And don't forget that people, every time you pee, your pharmaceuticals, which have been processed by the liver, is coming out of your body through your sweat and your pee too. So then you do your laundry and it goes back into the water processing. You go pee and you're putting chemicals back into the water as well. So yeah, it's risky biscuits. I don't know what to say. It's a big problem.
Well, not only just for humans, but we mentioned our 4-legged friends, our pets and stuff. I think it's really important to give them what we're drinking. Like, don't just let them drink the tap water.
Nope, I don't.
Give them the bottled water. I mean, if you're not drinking it, why should they? Right?
Yep, exactly.
I know I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but I mean, when you talk about health and stuff like that, water is really important for everybody.
It is. It really, really is.
4-legged friends. So is there anything else that you want to talk about in regards to all these different things that you do and teach? Thank you, by the way, for doing all this.
Oh, you're welcome. It's just I feel I can function so much better when I have a mission. I can go on to a task. What's interesting is you have Quantum Health Ascension. I got a download back in 2014 for a program that I put together in 9 different steps, and I call it Quantum Health Transformation. So this quantum health thing keeps coming up and coming up. It's a free online course. You can tap into it either through a playlist on my YouTube channel, or you can go to my website. And it's a pretty beefy course. It involves, can I just give you a quick overview of it?
Yes, yeah.
Well, the first 3 steps, it goes in descending order. I know it sounds nuts, but there's a reason. So you start with step 9, 8, and 7. Step 9 teaches you about the quantum reality of all things. And it's really fun because it also teaches you how to do your shadow work through a tool, which I'll show it to you. I affectionately call this, whoops, I don't know if it's going to show up because, it might not show up. Anyway, through a tool that I call the nubby ball. And it teaches us to stop.
Do you want to hold it up again? I
don't know if it will.
More room. Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, because I have a green screen because it's just a blank wall behind me. But anyway, it helps you step out of duality. So you stop thinking in terms of good, bad, up, down, back and forth, and you start to see things as they are in their quantum wholeness. And it helps you to do your shadow work. Step 8 introduces you to things that are technologies that you may never have thought were technologies, like positive affirmations, orgone generators. Yes, there it is. Meditation, all the things that help you to basically rev up your energy centers and to feel more calm and more loving. And then step 7 is all about male-female integration, which has really not much to do with the trans thing. It's we all have male and female energy, and we need to balance the divine feminine and the divine masculine. The left side of our body, the energy is what they call female. It's like the yin and yang, and the right side is the male. So how to do our male-female integration, because, as soon as we get away from the stereotypes and we start to create our own balance in our lives, we feel a lot better. So that's the first 3 steps. It's about opening your mind. Then the middle steps are all about detoxification. So step 6 is actually broken down into 3 different programs. One is external detoxification. So it teaches you about all the chemicals that are in shampoos and toothpaste and cleaning products. And I give recipes on how to make your own natural, healthy everything. And it costs pennies. So you're going to save yourself a whole lot of money. The next part of step 6 is internal detoxification, where I explain the difference between real food and food-like substances and the different ways that we can eat to help improve our health and detoxify. Then I get into emotional detoxification, because all of our emotions are meant to work for us, not against us. And then in step 5, step 5 is all about food. And step 4 is how to detoxify from the construct. So we've been born into this world. We've been programmed to believe this is how it is and this is how you have to do things. But when you realize how energy works, and you've already done all the other steps to step 4, so you understand about the quantum reality, everything, you can start making different choices. And then once you've done all of that, so now you've opened your mind, you've detoxified on so many different levels, then step 3, 2, and 1 are advanced spiritual tools that help you to learn really powerful ways to manifest what you want out of life. Spiritual exercises. Remember I mentioned what love is? Well, step 1 is all about breaking love down into all of its components, why we want to practice them, and how we can do that towards self and then others. And then there's the conclusions. It's a pretty beefy program, really. I mean, you can't just do it in a weekend.
Really interesting, Karen.
And it's free. It's absolutely free. And you can buy the PDFs of each lesson. They're available in my shop. They're $3.99 each. Are they $2.99? I can't remember, but they're only a couple of dollars. And that helps me to generate a little bit of funds, to help pay for everything. And but you don't have to order the PDFs. You can just go through the program. It's all done in videos. So you just sit back and watch a video, and then, you want to make notes or what you want to
So if
work
you
on.
want to find this information, it's Karen Holton, healthcoach.com. Again, that's Karen Holton, healthcoach.com. And she has a plethora of information on here for everybody. And a lot of people are talking about, in the new year, detoxification and wellness and quantum health and ascension. It's how everybody's talking about all of these things. So we didn't get to delve into it as much as we really wanted to. But I mean, thank you so much for putting all this together.
You wouldn't believe how much work it's been, but it's not, I don't look at it as work. It's my mission. It makes me happy. I get such a terrific sense of accomplishment and feel like I'm becoming the change that I want to see in the world. And I'm inviting other people to come with me, and we can change this. Seriously, we can change how everything is done on this planet, and fast, if we just learned the true nature of reality and stop giving our power to other people. So I'm a firm believer that we need to look within for our inspiration and our guidance. There's a lot of people go, oh, I listen to Bashir, or I listen to Melchizedek, or I follow Danon or whoever, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm saying we need to go inside and make our own connections and bring all that juicy awesomeness into our own lives. We deserve it, and it's time.
It is. You're a wealth of knowledge, and I'm going to put your link tree back up there again for folks to take a look at. And
thank you.
There we go. We got all kinds of your books.
It's all on there.
Everything is there. Do you want to give a shout out? I see you're in a lot of different places. You're on Rumble, Odyssey, YouTube, X.
Telegram, X, but I'm also part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network. And so Chris Matthew, who's the owner, he produces everything I do and sends it out to all the audio platforms. So I'm also available on all the audio platforms. Bless his heart, he gave me my start. And it's Preston Dennett is the reason how I did my book. I did an online conference, and I participated in a round table with Preston. He heard what I said. He said, I'll try to tell you quick because I know you got to close soon. But he said, Karen, can you send me a digital copy of your presentation? I said, sure. He said he shared it with Dolly Saffron. I'm sure you know who Preston Dennett and Dolly Saffron are. Yes. And they said, Karen, you got to write a book. And so I got busy and wrote a book, and that's how it all started. Yeah.
Excellent. Karen, thank you so much for being on the show today. We really appreciate having you on. We'll have to have you come back on and talk about more of all of your exciting things that you offer to everybody. Everybody check out Karen, check out her link tree, check out her .com, her books, her podcasts. You're going to love all the things that she offers everybody. Love, light, and happiness, right?
Absolutely.
So is there anybody else you want to give any shout outs to?
Oh gosh. Oh, so many. Where do I start? Where do I end? I am just so grateful for all my guests on my podcast. I'm so grateful for all the people who have me as guest on their podcast, like you, Jen. I appreciate you so much. Appreciate the people listening, and the people who want the world to be different. And, we may not be able to agree exactly on how we want things to look, but we can agree on paradise. And it's a good place to start. So, a lot of people spend time worrying and complaining, but you know what? How much time do you spend? Try to spend 20 minutes a day thinking about the world you want. Bring that in. You can do it. I'm really excited. I can't wait.
Love it, Karen. Thank you so much again for being on the show. So we're going to leave you now with some 80s BOG Team music, and make sure you do follow Karen Holton. You're going to love her. Take care, everybody.